NERDSoul.
All right, Michael, we are here to watch the Acolyte trailer and then talk about Dune. You're going to host the Dune part of the show. I'll host the Acolyte part of the show. I'm Jay Sherer from How Stories Work. Michael, you got to do your own introduction because you always do the best introductions.
What's up, y'all? NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Anyway, we're here. Talk some Star Wars. I'm glad we got some new Star Wars stuff, so it's exciting. Let's see. Let's see what we got. I mean, they've been holding this show for like 10 years to see. It just seems like this show was mentioned a long time ago, and I forgot about it.
Oh, totally.
And now we get a chance to actually see it, or see what it's going to look like. So I'm interested. I'm interested now.
Yeah. Now, have you already watched the trailer, or is this the first time you'll ever see the trailer?
I've watched the trailer about 3 times.
Okay, I've watched the trailer twice. So for those who are listening, we'll try and describe for you what's going on in the trailer. And at the same time, we're going to pause it multiple times. So if you haven't seen it, this will be the most annoying way to watch it for the first time. So watch it first and then come back to our discussion.
Watch it first, and then we got you.
Yeah. By the way, I have to tell you this, Michael, because I was talking the other day, and I have become so tired with the Star Wars discourse that I was on the Orange Grove 55 show. And I said, I don't want to talk to anybody about Star Wars anymore, except I will talk to Michael Young from NERDSoul about it, because he's the only person I want to talk Star Wars with. Everybody else, I don't care what you think.
The comments, if you go into the comments, man, it's there. When I was watching the trailer, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. So NERDSoul is the only person I want to talk Star Wars with. That's just how it goes. All right, so I'm going to play this, and then if you want me to stop it, but I'll pause it on multiple points just to kind of keep the discussion going. So let's jump into this. It is going to start out with looks like a practical effect creature, and it's in the correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a High Republic era Star Wars show, right?
Yeah, I believe this is the High Republic. They got rid of the term Old Republic,
right? So
now they're using High Republic, which I don't know why. The Old Republic was just fine. I mean, they own all the Star Wars stuff anyway, but I mean, hey, a High Republic. Maybe they're going to do an Old Republic, which is going to be older than the High. I don't know. But This is High Republic era, which is technically the Old Republic era, sort of. So everything was all good back here.
Right. The Jedi Order was strong. Yeah, exactly. All right, so here we go.
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. Tell me what comes into your mind.
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Okay, so that's a good.
All right. So I was gonna stop. I was gonna tell you stop right there because we get a lot in that. We're at 35 seconds, and you have the master walking around, kind of like the Jedi sort of circle room, the meditation room, and I like his demeanor as a master. Your eyes can deceive you. What do you see? And then I guess this could also be a way to weed out. Someone's like, I see fire. It's like,
yeah,
expelled.
That's right. We have another class for you. It's called Calm Meditation, and you have to be in it for the rest of your life.
We're gonna put you directly under Yoda because we don't trust you anymore.
That's right.
But I do like that they are focusing on the training of Jedi, like what it is to train, because we don't really see. In Star Wars, we don't really see Jedi train a lot, and like what it is to be a Jedi. We see a little bit with Luke and Yoda. We see a little bit with Rey and Luke. We see a little bit, we haven't really delved into what is the difference in the training of a Jedi as opposed to a Sith, and maybe we never will. But I do like these little insights and kind of also seeing when there was an instructor that was kind of leading them into the Force. So I like that.
Yeah. I like that too. I think I'm not sure. I have to say I have a bias about this show before it even starts to air.
Mhm.
And that is that I've watched the Leslie Headland interviews, and she's the showrunner. And I just don't understand what she's talking about when she talks about Star Wars.
Oh man,
So
see, I haven't seen any of that.
yeah,
Is she another one of these directors, kind of like Marvel had, where it's like, I don't even know about comics. I don't even like comics. I don't even like comic book characters, but I got hired, so let's do this.
well, I'm gonna throw some things
Uh-oh.
out there. On the plus side, I've heard good things about Russian Dolls, and I believe she's the showrunner, or at least like involved in the Russian Dolls show. Okay, but I have not seen it myself, so I can't like say like, oh, I love Leslie Headland because she does this show. It's great. I've only like heard some things from some people that suggest that it's good. But then you've got the negative stuff, like literally everything from she was Harvey Weinstein's assistant during the time that he was up to no
Word?
good. Yeah.
Whoa.
And then there's this
Really?
whole what's that?
I said, really?
Yeah, really. And here's what's also weird
Whoa.
about it. Here's what's also weird about it is that there's this whole weird conspiracy theory surrounding the Acolyte. Like there's like weird stuff that's happened because like one of the producers tried to sue Star Wars because she got taken off the production or something. There's a whole other weird conspiracy theory that like the funders of the Acolyte are these like super shady people. Like it is so bizarre.
Wow.
And when she's been on stage at Star Wars Celebration, the things that she says and the way that she carries herself, like nothing against her as a person, because I'm sure like if I wasn't seeing her in the context of like Star Wars Celebration, which is already like a loaded fan event,
Yeah.
like I think, maybe if I had a one-on-one conversation with her, I'd be like, Leslie Headland's my favorite person. But in this case, the way that she comes off is, those people in Hollywood that like come off as if they were blessed to tell stories over everyone else that's ever existed.
The self-righteous writer phenomenon of Hollywood.
Yes, exactly.
Oh God. Like, can we let it go? Especially after they proved, I mean, they came out and admitted that the sequel trilogy was just winging it. Can we go in and I mean, JJ Abrams they came out and admitted it. So can we let go this whole like writers are so sacred? They're not.
Yeah.
They're no smarter than you or I. They're Steven Spielberg's family friend. It's like stop this idea. Like they're like, oh, these guys are so amazing. No, they're just regular people, just like you and I.
Exactly.
Oh,
so I have to admit that, like, as I watch this trailer, because what you're saying is absolutely 100% true. Like, how many times do we get on a podcast together? Pretty much every time there's something Star Wars comes out, except for the animation, which I'm way behind on. So you always invite me, and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen it. But like everything else, you and I are always jump on a show and we start talking about it, and almost always we're like, it has moments of greatness, and then it has some really weird stuff that's coming up that we don't know why it goes from 10 to 4, like in a matter of minutes. And so I get this sense that like Star Wars doesn't know what it wants to be. Star Wars doesn't know who it wants to hire. Star Wars it is not locked in with a good production process. And so you get a lot of randomness, right? You're not sure what you're going to get because they don't have a machine that spits out hits. And so I'm going into this trailer with a little bit of apprehension. And there's one thing that I love about the trailer, and we're about to actually see it right here. I'm going to go back a little bit before we see it, just so we can cover some other things. But the parts of it that I don't like is it feels like you gave someone, by the way, this is someone who has written and produced a fan film. It seems like you've given someone who's written and produced a fan film like $10 million to make a Star Wars thing. And it just kind of has some of those same tones to it to me. And it's hard for me to determine if it's really hard for me to say if this is good or bad. And so I'm just being honest about it up front. Like, I have no clue, but there's some things that I definitely don't like. And there's some things that I think are okay. The opening sequence, so far, everything that we've seen is fine. Although I'm a little bit concerned with the training because kids, we've talked about this before, like kids in Star Wars can be pretty challenging. So how much of the kids are they going to have in here? How much are they going to factor? But let me go back.
That might just be a flashback, maybe.
Exactly. Let me just go back a few seconds so we can catch up here. So this is like her coming into this like Mos Eisley style cantina place.
Yeah, and some very good looking aliens too.
Absolutely. The practical effects in this thus far are pretty decent. Like even there, when she says "I see fire," there's like a little Rhodian or something like that right next to.
Yeah, like whatever it is with like kind of like squid goatee kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Squid goatee is a perfect name. Now this coming up is my favorite shot of the trailer. So I'm a pretty big Carrie-Anne Moss fan. So when Carrie-Anne Moss, like she knows how to make things dramatic. I mean, this is the lady who played Trinity. You know what I mean? Like she's just
and
good.
The lady that played one of the most depressingly good characters in Jessica Jones. Like Jessica Jones is a good show. You just need to make sure that you're mentally healthy before you watch it. That show is, like everybody is messed up in that show.
Oh, dude.
But when I saw Trinity, I was like, "Oh snap!"
Yeah. Carrie-Anne Moss is awesome, and you're right. In that show, in Jessica Jones, she's amazing. I forgot she was in Jessica Jones.
The way she did her wife in that show, man, that was messed up.
Oh my god!
Like it's just a whole bunch of screwed up people in that show.
Yes, exactly. So Carrie-Anne Moss is dope, and then the lead character, who's usually wearing a mask. I'm going to assume, because I think it's pretty obvious, but maybe this is not true, is that the little girl who said "I see fire," which you're not supposed to see when you're meditating. Yeah, is this character right here who's attacking Carrie-Anne Moss's character? And Carrie-Anne Moss looks like she's a Jedi, which is awesome because I'm here for that too. Now she might be like a like a non-Jedi, non-Sith, like in betweener, but like I don't know.
I also like that they're holding on the action. They're not doing a million Chris Nolan cuts.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually showing the action, letting them do the hand to hand. Of course, they can't like hit each other. I mean, or at least hit each other hard, but at least they're showing them doing the movements. So I like that. Of course, being an action fan, I want to see as much uninterrupted cuts in the action as possible.
Yeah. In fact, I don't think did you and I talk about Echo at all? I can't remember.
Yeah, we did talk about Echo a few times,
and that was one of the issues.
Or I mean, on one time when we talked about like the action that they had, where there were some people that were like just straight not getting hit.
Yeah.
Or the guy that she like suplexed, I was like, I mean, I know you're not a small woman, but that's have you tried picking up a human being?
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. In fact, how many times does The Rock, when he does the rock bottom, how many times does the guy he's doing it to have to give him a little assist by jumping?
He gives him a little jump before he throws him.
Exactly. It's difficult. It's 100% true. But I totally agree that the action that we've seen in this trailer, I think, is really, really well done. Which, by the way, could be great because the showrunner doesn't usually have everything to do with the action, because the showrunner isn't always like directing
a fight coordinator.
Yeah, exactly. And they usually have other directors. So if she hired good directors and good fight coordinators, we might get some amazing fights, even if the story is kind of wonky. You know what I mean? Like, so, what did you think about?
That's a cool, like, kind of like old versus young thing. So we'll see if they have any history. But I do like how she's dressed, and that's Amanda Stenberg. But I like the way she's dressed. It's very kind of this sort of put together. It's not this sort of uniform.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a whole bunch of things thrown together.
Whatever works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm not sure if this is good or bad. Like, I like focusing on a Sith character for the whole show. That actually makes me excited because like you said before, we've never seen a Sith train anybody. You know what I mean? Like, the closest thing we've ever seen to Sith training is probably the prequel era, where you're watching Emperor Palpatine or Senator Palpatine basically influencing Anakin, like, subtly. But even when we got like Baylan and Shin Hati, like, there was not really a lot of training going on.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were
just
already kind of in their roles, sort of.
exactly. So this is going to be kind of interesting from that perspective. And I agree with you. I like the character design here. There's a couple of character designs that I didn't like as much, but this character design is cool. She seems like she's doing everything that she needs to do in order to attain whatever goal she's trying to achieve. Like, it doesn't seem like she's all put together. She's clearly concerned about COVID because she's got her COVID mask on, which is good.
Very important.
Very important. So, and it's coming out like,
Someone is killing Jedi.
a couple months, and it says someone is killing Jedi. So we've already got the impression that that this acolyte is going out and killing Jedi for some reason.
Yeah, and it also in that statement is like, this is something that doesn't happen. Like, what is so? I wanted to ask you what you think about this. I'm hoping that this is a detective style show where it's like something like maybe like Seven, where it's like, hey, there's this like serial killer, and we don't even know. Why? What? No one kills Jedi. Who can kill Jedi?
Right.
Like that. Hopefully, we get that kind of suspense and then some awesome fight scenes. But I'm trying to temper my expectations because I know, I can get excited about like maybe like a gritty detective style show where the Jedis have to go from either being like peacekeepers or kind of like monks into like, investigators, and being kind of overwhelmed because they really haven't had to be in this role before.
Yeah. Here's what happens every time you and I do a podcast about Star Wars. The ideas that you pitch me are way better than what we actually get. So I'm here for that. That sounds amazing. Now, will they actually hold up to that? I'm not sure. But this is the one character design that I did not like. I was like, dude, what
the Killmonger
H&M store did this guy walk out of? Yeah, like
the Killmonger Jedi,
dude,
man.
Just got done with his Hollister shift, and he's like, guys, I got my Jedi training now. Come on.
And I'm wondering if that's a wig. I don't know if that's his real hair, but man, we are not going to get away from this Killmonger hairstyle, man. Shouts out to Michael B. Jordan, man. He did like Michael B. Jordan, of course, Chadwick Boseman, and Ryan Coogler, for being, kind of the trinity that made that movie awesome. But I mean, of course, Angela Bassett. But man, look, this hair is cool. I think it's cool. We all think it's cool, but this is not like the only hairstyle. I mean, there's other ways to do dreads too.
Yeah,
like you can have them in and like back, like just straight down over your face, or in a ponytail, or like you can have them up in kind of like this, like a bun. There's just Google like Rastafarian dreads, or Google like Jamaican dreads, or like even people in Brazil have like. There's other way. This isn't the only way.
Look, if you replace this guy's hair right now with Solar Gray's hair, our friend Solar Gray, now we're talking, dude. Now we're talking Jedi.
Just put the dreads straight down. Just have them just straight down, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then it'll look cool when he's like moving and stuff and fighting. They'll be like, swinging around. It'll be kind of cool.
You know how Jedi are not supposed to have attachments? This guy definitely looks attached to his hair. Let's be honest. Like, this guy cares a little bit too much about his hair to be a Jedi.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good thing. We'll see, hopefully, if the Jedi in this era hold the same sort of tenets that they hold in the prequel era.
Right.
And maybe we'll figure out if there's a change in that or something like that. Because maybe they don't, or maybe they do have attachments in this era, and this whole show is why they say, no more attachments.
Yeah, that's true. That could be the case.
Maybe that's it.
I like that. I like it. If it's a detective show and they learn that, I'm in. That sounds amazing.
Like the whole time she was angry, and
we got a little Wookiee in there.
Yeah, Wookiee Jedi. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it's a Wookiee Jedi, holy cow! Do you think that's what it is?
I'm hoping so. Maybe not, but I'm hoping it's a Wookiee Jedi.
Oh, that would be dope. You can't really tell from this shot, but like, the hairstyle of the Wookiee actually looks like it actually might be kind of Jedi-ish. I mean, interesting. I do like this guy. I do like the guy. So the guy on the screen right now is we just saw the Wookiee character, and now the guy on the screen I don't know this actor's
He's the
name.
master from the beginning of the
Yes.
trailer.
Yeah, he looks cool.
The way he
like
uses his
that.
Jedi mind trick seems to calm the guy too.
It
Because the guy
does.
seemed very anxious. Probably like, hey, if I tell they got me over a barrel, like if I tell they're gonna kill my family or something, and he like calms him down, maybe. I don't know. But it did seem like the Jedi mind trick did more than just make him tell him whatever, but also kind of calm the guy down.
Yep. Totally. This is good special effects. Looks like pretty good special effects here with the island. And then more fighting, which they definitely are doing wires.
Yeah, kind of like this wire work, sort of like the traditional Chinese theater kind of like kung fu fight scene. So shouts out to all the people that love like Shaolin versus Wu-Tang, those kind of movies. We get to see a little bit of wire work, or even updated to something semi-new with like I forgot the name of the movie. The Green Destiny was what they were after. Man, Michelle Yeoh, Chow Yun Fat, and I can't remember the name of the film.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yeah, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the sword, the Green Destiny. That fight scene. If we can get a fight scene like that in Star Wars,
yeah, that'd be dope.
Because when Michelle Yeoh keeps getting the different weapons, and she's like, "This is just because you have the Green Destiny."
Yeah,
she's like, if you can't fight, it's not my fault. This is like.
I love, by the way, so I paused it again. I totally agree with you. And I paused it again because where I paused it, I did not notice the first 2 times I watched the trailer. There's 4 Jedi. The Wookiee looks like a Jedi for sure because they're in Jedi robes at this point. There's 3 other Jedi, and they're standing in a circle with people with like bow and arrows standing around them. And that's pretty cool because it actually leads me to believe that what you said about them going around the galaxy trying to figure out what's going on with this like Jedi killing person, probably Sith.
And then imagine how cool it could be to see Jedi going around the galaxy trying to figure what's going on, and then go somewhere where maybe Jedi, hey, they're not too well loved here, and then they show it like first thing, we don't care about your powers. Like, you're on our turf.
Yep.
And y'all might have all the force you want, but can y'all stop, 10, 20, 30, 40, 60 arrows?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Or if you can, prove it, because we're gonna make you prove it. Like that kind of thing. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, this is maybe one of the shots in the trailer that makes me the most excited about it, to be honest with you, based on what we've talked about. Let's see what else we got here. Darkness rises. And then more. This is what's interesting because is this the same? Is that the same battle that we saw earlier?
It's the same battle.
Looks like
it looks like it might be a part where they come to either a standstill where they begin to talk, or maybe where something kind of breaks the fight up. But she seemingly goes sort of, I guess you could say sort of, for a kill shot, but she's way too far for it to be a kill shot. But it looks good on camera. But for Trinity, Jedi Trinity, to stop the blade, like, please.
And we know she is Jedi because I paused it at the 40-second mark just to see if she's wearing the same stuff, and she is. And she has a lightsaber in her, like, coming out of her coat right here.
So that lets you know she's like, look, I don't even feel the need to pull this. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You've got spunk, kid.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're not on my level.
Yeah, you have a shiv and I have a lightsaber. Like, this is not going to end well for you.
Yeah, but then imagine the hate or whatever that someone has to know that they're going into a gunfight with a knife, basically.
Yeah.
And still attacking her the way she is.
That's true.
Now, this is you're paused on a spot with this character, I guess Anastasia or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, she looks like she's in the scene where they're surrounded by the people with the arrows, 4 Jedi. Now,
good call.
My question here is about this, where I think they might be about to mess up some lore. She makes a statement of, this isn't about good or bad.
Yeah.
And then she says something like, it's about who has the power or something like that.
Yeah, here, I'll let it play. It'll say, this isn't about good or bad. This is about power.
And then she says it's about who wields it or something like that.
Yeah, it's just and who is allowed to use it.
Okay, pause it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, y'all could be about to mess up a lot of Star Wars lore right now. Because if y'all are about to make a story about the bad guy, where y'all are going to tell us that the bad guy isn't really as bad as a bad guy, he's just a good guy that's misunderstood, then you could be upending all of Star Wars lore about all of the, all of the Jedi and all of the Sith, because then someone can say, well, it's not about good or bad. It's about who wields the power, and who is the power and who's wielding it. And I guess you could look at it from a high-minded or pseudo high-minded place of like, oh, well, the Force is just a tool and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, yes, and that's true. A hammer is just a tool. I can use it to build a house or smash someone's head in. But if I smash someone's head in, what will people say that I am?
Yeah.
They'll say that I'm bad. So now we're back to where we were before.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe, but I just want them to, I hope they know that they could be treading on some territory, whereas people are going to be like, all right, you've been telling us this is about the light and the dark for, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years, however many anniversaries they've had. Yeah. And now you're about to say, well, it's really not about light and dark. It's about, whoever's in charge. Well, what if the person in charge is dark? Well, it's still kind of like, we might be getting in trouble with that type of stuff.
Michael, you've unlocked my Star Wars rant of the day. This is my biggest frustration with newer Star Wars. And by the way, when I say newer Star Wars, even George Lucas is guilty of this. So like, I'm not blaming anybody else per se, but here's what happens when you have a creator whose worldview changes over time. Like, they come out and they give us the original trilogy, and in the original trilogy, it literally says the evil empire, and it talks about Palpatine being a bad guy and Darth Vader being the biggest villain in the galaxy. And then as the creator kind of thinks about that for longer, what actually happens, and this is like in my interpretation of it, is that they go, oh man, I kind of got Eastern mysticism wrong. Like, Eastern mysticism is really more about yin and yang and like these forces at play in the world and like how balance is what's supposed to be struck. But here's the problem. If that's the case, then you can't want us, the audience, to want to eradicate the bad, evil people. Like, because that doesn't make any sense anymore.
You need to start making room for redemption and stuff like that, which is what we get sort of in Return of the Jedi, which is sort of what we get in pieces of it in Ahsoka, stuff like that, where there's this kind of redemption theme in there as well.
Yes.
Which I'm not against, but it's just every time you do something like this, you're opening up the doors for Star Wars to kind of be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And Star Wars was supposed to be the battle between good and evil.
Correct.
And I know that there are shades of gray, and there will always be shades of gray.
Yes.
But there should be maybe a paragon of virtue in each series, because there needs to be a true north.
Yes, correct.
At least for storytelling like this.
Yes. I was going to
say like the light side and the dark side, there's going to have to be a true north somewhere.
Yes, exactly. And to your point, if you were to tell us, okay, like, for example, if you were to say, like, instead of Eastern mysticism, if you were to say, like, let's talk about the Jewish tradition, which uses the term shalom, which is everything as it should be, which is everything is like working out good, right? Like, everything is working out for the good of mankind as opposed to the bad of mankind. Like, that worldview would tell you that there's definitely some evil things and there's definitely some bad things, and we wish for everything to be in shalom, which is the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to accept the fact that there is bad. But that view also has a view of sin, which is like, well, sin is bad, and that means that like being selfish is bad, and that means that like hurting other people is bad, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Within this, if you say everything can exist, then how can you say that one thing is evil and one thing is good? Like those two things don't go along with each other, because what you're saying is everything is best when it is in balance, when there is both yin and yang, using Eastern mysticism terms, in this case using dark and light. And then it's like, okay, fine, well then why? So yes, this is my Star Wars rant. It's like what has happened with Star Wars is it feels to me like George Lucas and then every creator who has come after has tried to do the Eastern mysticism thing mixed in with modern sensibilities about the Eastern mysticism thing, and it stops making sense. Like you can't have it be like you can say we want the Force to be a tool that is both that is like Eastern mysticism in nature. But then as soon as you take that thing and you transform it into people using it, then it's bad and good. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you saying like the Force is what it is, but the way people use the Force can either be bad or good or evil or good. But what you can't tell me is that all of a sudden it's like, no, we're trying to seek balance, and in seeking balance, it's totally fine to have the most chaotic evil Sith user out there and him just killing people or her just killing people. That's totally fine. That doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't. Yeah. That's like you can't hold all of those beliefs.
That's the argument a lot of people had with Luke in the way he approached, and then even Yoda had to come to Luke. In the Last Jedi, I think in the Last Jedi, I was like, "Look, stupid, train a girl. Like, what's wrong with you?"
Right?
Like, dang. And so, yeah, I agree. The modern sensibilities are dope in certain stories, but I don't think modern sensibilities work in Star Wars because the concept of light and dark is something that does not change. Modern sensibilities will.
Yes.
Now, whatever you believe in, whatever you love, whatever your current Twitter topic of the day that you will die, the hill you will die on for today, you will not feel that way 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you won't. Yep. And actually, 5 to 10 years from now, someone's going to come along telling you that what you thought today, you were so progressive, they're going to be telling you that you are wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, totally. So when it comes to storytelling, like if you go with whatever the flavor of the day is, it probably doesn't have a longer lasting effect. Like the one thing that was really great about the prequel or the original trilogy was that George Lucas was saying, look, there's some things about the world we don't understand how they work. That's what the Force is, right? You can have people like Han Solo that are like, it's a bunch of nonsense and mumbo jumbo. You can also have people who are like, no, I dedicated my life to it and it's meaningful and there's things going on here that are interesting. You can also have good and evil because we all experience that in life. What you can't do then is try to go, well, let's back off that a little bit because maybe there's just like this oppressive structure and like that's why yes, maybe, and maybe you could come up with a really good way for how that fits into the original lore. But unfortunately, to your original point, it feels like the lore keeps changing every time they release some new thing. And that doesn't make any sense anymore. At some point in time, you're stopping and you're going like, I don't think we're playing in the same sandbox that we were playing in earlier in this thing.
To the point of like those modern sensibilities and things like that changing, there's a song called Cry No More from Fonte of Little Brother. He has a line that says, because by the time you realize that your father was right, you'll probably have your own son telling you you're wrong. And that's how, and that's how it goes. So now, because you've come out being like, no, Star Wars should be like this. And it's like, no, man, they have set in stone that there's light and dark. They've kind of set this in stone. There is redemption possible, but light and dark has kind of been set. I mean, they did throw in, Dave Filoni came in with the sort of like the Trinity of the Force kind of thing, which muddied the waters. And I know people are going to be mad because I said something about Dave Filoni, but it's true. That muddied the waters.
It did. Yeah, it
does. But that's there. So now, okay, there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit pretty much in the Force. Yep. So cool. All right, now we're willing to accept that. All right, so there's a true north, and then there's evil, and then there's good.
Yep.
Okay, great. So there's the perfect divine, the mix between both, the balance, because now they want to bring balance in, which is cool. But the thing is, when you start doing balance in stories like this, it's like, well, what is balance? Is there an acceptable level of murder that we're going to allow? Because if
Right.
that's the case, then how good are we to allow this in the name of balance?
Yep.
And if we're going to still say we're good, what do the people and the families of those that are murdered say about us?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, because the Jedi sat by and let slavery just run rampant.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, I mean, it's you come up with these questions, which are great questions, but you don't want those questions in a story like this because it starts to get convoluted.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Real fast.
and I don't mind it, like when they do like a side story that's not related to the Jedi, like Andor, where it's like the entire story is about what's acceptable in war and what's not acceptable in war.
Yeah, those are like people that are in the war, not the Jedi themselves.
Correct. And that's like us if we were living in the Star Wars time. We're not some like prophet of or paragon of justice. We're just average everyday humans going like, what do we do today? And so I don't mind it in those kind of stories, but when it starts to get into the Jedi, I 100% agree with you and I'm glad that you brought that up because that can be very confusing. Now, I will say that this character who says this, that the Anissa or whatever her name is, like her character design is pretty dope.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I love the character design. And even when she kind of like rises up among her people, I guess she's sort of like the leader there, sort of maybe like a religious type leader or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And even the design of her, she has this like circular structure on her forehead. It's like some circular art, and it even looks like it's yin yang. To be honest with you, like with the very center
of it,
yeah, which is cool. I mean, look, I think that it would be. I think that it's cool to explore. So let me be clear about this too. I actually think it's cool to explore different concepts of what people's view of the Force could be, just like we have different concepts of what religion means or what spirituality means in real life. But the problem is that like you do have to come to some kind of conclusion of what is actually true and what is not actually true. And that's what I think we're worried about. And I think we have good reason to be, because I've been worried about it for a while now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because this island that they're on later in the trailer, I'm at 1 minute 22 seconds. It looks a lot like where it's not, because there's a lot of other places, but
you see Luke's lightsaber down there anywhere?
yeah. He threw it behind him and it's right down there. What's the name of that place? I can't remember.
I cannot remember the name of the place.
Yeah,
just remember they had those like little penguin birds.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course he Chewie couldn't eat one.
That's right. Yeah, he was hungry too, man. What's he supposed to do? Starve? Chewie's out here. Chewie needs to be vegan now. I don't know.
Yeah, that.
What is that?
This is the last part of the trailer that we should talk about, because
the part where you have these young Jedi, they look like they're sort of like Young Justice age, so like 17ish, 16ish, 17.
Yeah, it's like Anakin in the prequels.
Yeah, and this girl, I guess her name is Jackie. Or Jakai, maybe. She says, "What is that?" They turn around and they see a flying lightsaber.
Yeah, which is crazy.
How cool a scene would it be for one Sith to take all three of them down, and that set off this show?
That would be awesome.
That would be. Now, of course, I'm the action man. They're not going to do this. Disney's not going to do this. But it would be cool if that sets off this show. Like, people have been hearing of Jedi, maybe like, they're missing in action or they haven't reported back, but we never had a body.
Yeah.
Now we have 3 bodies in one place and they're all lightsaber marks. Yes. Something's wrong. What's going on? Send up a flare. Whatever it is, everybody stop what they're doing because someone's killing Jedi.
Yep.
Like that could be a cool way to kick the show off, but we don't know if that's going to happen.
Absolutely. And this is cool. I mean, the saber goes through multiple trees. I was kind of hoping that they would start to show the trees falling down. But maybe we'll get that in the actual scene in the show. Somebody catches this lightsaber. I can't tell who it is based on the hand alone.
Yeah, because I think the hand has a glove on, so we're not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It looked like they almost had some. Like, watch this.
I think it's a glove.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then The master is with the master guy is with the rest of his younglings, and there's a lot of lightsabers here. I mean, there's got to be like I don't know,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oops.
like 7, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 Jedi.
7 Jedi going against 1 Sith, and then there's this like big, like the Sith user seems to like throw up a cloud of dust on the Jedi, like push them all back at once, and then we get the big Acolyte reveal. So I mean, look, I'll say this: I told you how I was biased against this show to begin with, but then I also told you that as we've talked about it, I will say though that I am more excited about it having talked to you about it, because we've picked up on some things that I hope are cool in the trailer. Look, I don't want to have more bad Star Wars. I already know some stupid complaints we're gonna get. By the way, we're gonna totally run out of time to talk about Dune.
yeah. Don't worry about Dune.
We're gonna talk about Dune
tomorrow or another day.
Yeah. We'll do it another day. But so I'm gonna tell you some dumb comments we're already gonna hear. Right?
I've been through the comment section, so I've seen them.
Yep, there's going to be some dumb comments that have nothing to do with this story whatsoever. There's going to be some comments about like, oh, we got another female Jedi problem here. We got another this, we got another that. We have too much diversity in Star Wars or something stupid. So let's just put it all on the table. Like, there are plenty of good reasons to criticize Star Wars.
Yes.
This is not one of
Racism
them.
is not it.
It's not it, dude. Racism and sexism is not the reason you just.
There's nothing wrong with a woman being in a good guy or a bad guy.
Correct.
Now there are examples throughout Hollywood and their offerings from TV to film where women are made extremely smart, capable, and then all of their counterpart men are like dummies. Yeah. I get it. Right. But I don't think this is it. You got the master walking around teaching people. He looks like he's capable and stuff. So this doesn't look like this is it. There are examples of that, but every time you see a woman, that's not the example. Like, just it's okay for women to like. Well, no, that sounds bad. All right, it's okay for women to beat up people in TV. Yeah. All right.
yeah. Well, okay.
Because at first I was gonna say it's okay for women to kill people, and it's like, well, no, it's not. But on TV, because they're bad guys, they can do it.
Well, there's multiple points to make here that are within the context of Star Wars. Like, okay, and outside the context of Star Wars, Cara Dune worked because we know that what's her name, Gina Carano. We know that Gina Carano is an MMA fighter. And Gina Carano could take 95% of the fans, male or female, and completely destroy them in open combat, right? Like, so, like, yeah, you can put Gina Carano in there, and she's a badass, and she's gonna do some badass things. That's cool. That's awesome. You can also take the Force, which has been shown to like judge me by my size. Do you? Like, little Yoda can use the Force as strong as anybody else. So there's no way that you're going to tell me that a female couldn't use the Force as well as Yoda could. Like, that's just dumb. So Star Wars has, the problem is when you break your own rules, right? Like, when you break your own rules, that's when it becomes problematic. So if you say a Jedi needs 15 years to be able to do a Force choke, and you have a Jedi do a Force choke sporadically after like 6 months, then like you're like, okay, like that's a little bit, you're kind of breaking your own rules. Now, if you come up with a reason for it, because the midichlorian count of this Jedi is off the charts. yeah. But so my point is that Star Wars is not breaking its own rules via anything we see in this trailer. Like, the only rule that we talked about that they may be breaking is related to the philosophical concept of what evil and good are and what balance means in the Star Wars universe, which Star Wars has already been struggling with, by the way. So
this isn't the first show that they've played around with that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm more excited about the trailer having talked. This is why I say I only want to talk to you about Star Wars, because either we're going to be on the same page, you're going to help me understand like why it could be cool, or I'm probably, of the two of us, I'm probably going to be the more negative one. But I think that like you've got me a little bit more hyped for this show.
Unless you got me talking about Sabine, where oh man, she really upset me in like that first episode. But
oh man, you know what? Really,
I was like, this is not the person that we left off with in Rebels.
Yeah. Well, the other upsetting thing is that Dave Filoni will not touch romance. He's like, these two characters should have nothing but love for one another. He's like, nope. They're not even going to be that close to each other.
Yeah, it's like they definitely, like, he definitely liked her. Like, it was clear that he was like romantically interested in Sabine. Like, it was super clear in that. And when I Googled it, I saw other people asking the same question, like, hey, didn't they, like, weren't they like feeling each other like way back?
Yeah. Not anymore, because Dave Filoni's like, nah, we're not doing romance.
But yeah, the comments about this, the criticisms aren't even criticisms that we've brought up about playing around with like light and dark, and where I think that could lead us when it comes to the Jedi, not when it comes to the people like Andor or Rogue One, but when it comes to Jedi, because Jedi are supposed to be like, hey, we're good. We're like the Captain America of the show. You know, we do good for the sake of doing good. And now we're playing around with that, and that's the biggest problem. You see a whole bunch of people talking about woke, which essentially just means something that's like doesn't have like white men at the top of it.
Right.
And like, basically, like, woke just means something that like I don't like because like the white dude isn't the leader. We don't even know. We've seen a whole minute and 45 seconds of like a 8-episode show where every episode would probably be 30-ish minutes, maybe 40 minutes or something like that. So you have no idea. But yeah, pretty much just like woke, DEI, and of course diversity and, you know, the forces female stuff. It's that kind of thing. Now, unfortunately, they didn't start the forces female thing. That was started by unfortunately, they didn't start that
PR mistake.
It's like, I get what you were trying to do, but like the second I saw that T-shirt, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
You know what it is? Star Wars didn't know what their audience was.
Right.
To see me growing up as a black nerd, I knew.
Right.
I'm like, hey, comic book fans, Star Wars fans, Star Trek fans, Battlestar Galactica, all of them, there's a lot of racism in there. Trust me. Like, it's okay if I'm the sidekick and like doing, but I don't ever put me in the front, because you're going to see a whole bunch of hyper specific criticisms that you're like, I don't see why this is a criticism.
Exactly.
They came out. I was like, I don't know if y'all know, but a lot of your fans, they just want to see Luke or someone who looks exactly like Luke, and that's it.
Right. Exactly.
And they don't want to see anyone else. Now, at the same time, you got to grow from that, and I don't see anything wrong with growing from that, but I can understand where it seems like an attack, where for 40, 50 years, like, you've been the man. Yeah. You've been in charge. And now someone's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're still in charge, but some other people going to be in charge every now and then. Yeah, they ain't trying to feel it.
Well, and let me say it this way too. People are not sophisticated, right? Like, people are dumb. Like, why is it that, like, now I don't mean this in like, people aren't dumb in every area of their life, right? But what I mean is, if you're a person who doesn't study storytelling and you watch a story and it sucks, and you watch another story and it sucks, I mean, this is like literally how a lot of racism gets started, right? Like, you hear, like, it's called, everybody listening, is ignorance. And you hear a few things about like, oh, well, this kind of people is like this kind of way. And you go, oh yeah, that's for sure true, because I've experienced it twice. You didn't think about the other 10 experiences you had that were not that, and you go, oh yeah, that must be what it is. And so what happens is, unsophisticated people watch a TV show and they go, I don't like this as much as the TV show I used to like when I was a kid, but because I don't know what I'm talking about, it must be because they put diverse people in this, right? Like, or it must be because they put a woman in this. It's like, no, like, look, there are things you could criticize. And by the way, you also have to acknowledge that there were things you could have criticized when you were a 10-year-old. You just didn't care when you were a 10-year-old about those things.
Yeah, because it was awesome. You were a kid.
Exactly. So the thing is like, what I get so tired about with Star Wars, and the reason why I don't like talking about it with most people, is because they jump to a conclusion that is the most unsophisticated conclusion of all time. As if you couldn't have like a show that was a good black lead character. Surprise, we saw it with Black Panther, which was amazing. So like you can, there's always a way to like disprove that hypothesis, but people get that stuck in their head and they think it's going to be like. Now, I agree with people who would say things like, here's where it gets even more nuanced, right? I agree with like what we talked about earlier was the theoretical framework and belief system governing Star Wars mythology and philosophy is changing, right? Yeah. Now, does that have a consequence that is quote unquote woke, which is by the way a different definition than it was 10 years ago? Is it by definition now like woke? Now you would say, well, no, it's not by definition woke, but does it have a higher propensity to have elements in it that are about a belief system that is different than the former belief system? Sure. It has a higher propensity for that. But just because, in other words, what I'm trying to explain here is sometimes there are the demographic makeup of the characters, there are the way that the characters look on screen. That is not what makes for bad storytelling. What makes for bad storytelling is bad inputs into the story that you and I know are not true and don't play as true in real life. Like, that's what's bad. So now, have some of the quote unquote criticized woke elements done that? Absolutely. But that's a different consideration than who shows up on screen. So it's just, that's where it gets me really frustrated and fired up, because I just don't feel like people are using their brains. And it's like, unless you want to use your brain, don't tell me what your opinion is, because I don't care.
It's easier to just jump in with the crowd and say, hey, women are in here, so it's automatically going to be bad.
Yes, exactly. And that's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. What is that person statement.
Black? How can they be the leader?
Yeah, I know exactly. That's just so Anyway.
And it seems like there's women that's good guys and bad guys. It seems like there's dudes is good guys and bad guys. So I mean, seems like it's cool, at least from the outset. We got some cool fights. Yeah. We got some cool action. My only issue is the play with, like you said, when it comes to the, I guess you could say, like the lore of the story, where we're breaking away from this good and evil thing, whereas that was kind of like the base of at least the Jedi part. Yeah, like not the Andor stuff, but like the Jedi part. The basis of it was there's a good and there's an evil. Yep. And we have to fight to keep the evil back or at bay. Yep.
I'm 100% with you. My only other criticism, so I'm stoked if it's it's a detective show where they're hunting down the Acolyte. I'm stoked with I'm stoked with the concept of the show. There's somebody who breaks off from the Jedi Order because they see things a little differently. I'm still stoked on that part of the show, but I'm with you on the possible breaking of lore, which we don't know yet, but we'll have to see how the show treats it. And then the only other criticism I have is that there are times in this trailer where it feels like a fan film director was given $10 million to make something.
I did see a couple of comments about that now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask your opinion on that. When you say fan film, what do you see, or what about it gives you a fan filmy kind of feel?
Well, okay, so like for example, like this whole youngling scene, it feels like they're trying to recreate something that they've seen before, as opposed to saying like, well, no, this is the High Republic. Like, what if they train their Jedi a little differently than the prequel era trained their Jedi, for example, right?
Sure.
Or like,
because we are talking about what, like 100 generations before the prequel era.
Yep.
I think that's how. And 100 generations is a very long time.
Exactly. And so what it feels like is, because what do we see? We see the younglings. We see a fight between two Jedi that looks like it was done very well. We haven't seen the full fight, but that looks like it was done very well, which is all stunt coordination, not showrunner. Stunt coordination and directing. And then after that, we see a Mos Eisley kind of scene, which we've seen multiple times in Star Wars. There's nothing really new there. And then we also see this at the end. We see a lightsaber battle between 7 Jedi at least and 1 Sith at least. And that all feels like what you would see from your standard fan film. So that's where I kind of call it like a fan film type of a thing. Like, does it mean that it's bad? Not necessarily. Some fan films are amazing. I would love to give those creators $10 million to make that. But I just get the sense that they're, we're rehashing some things. It looks similar to what we saw before. That just gives me a little bit of a hesitation. Also, some of the way that this is cut, it's hard to tell how good it really is. I think the fight you can kind of tell, because the fight, like you said, it's pulled back and it's good choreography. So you're like, okay, cool, like that kind of works. But everything else is put together so fast that it's a little bit difficult to tell. So my complaint about it being a fan film feel could be incorrect. I just don't know yet. It's just.
But I will agree with you.
Yeah,
I will agree with you. Since this is the High Republic, things should look different, and I don't know, just different. The same way the prequel era looked very different from from the original trilogy. Yeah, for better or for worse, it looked a lot different.
Yeah.
And this, we are getting a lot of like similar looks in this.
Yes.
So I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So I guess those are the final thoughts. You usually do final thoughts. Why don't you tell everybody how to find you? This will be posted on your channel, so subscribe to this channel, everybody.
Well, actually, final thoughts for you first. Then.
Yeah, final thoughts for me. I am more excited about it having talked to you. I feel I'm a little nervous about the fan film aspect of it. I'm very nervous about the philosophical approach to what the Jedi and the Sith are. But I'm kind of stoked on some of the fight scenes. I like the concept of the film or the series, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing more, because the trailer doesn't give us a whole lot to go off of.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, I see you on that one. And then, of course, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me How Stories Work with Jay Sherer on YouTube, and then also, you can find me on X, but I'm not even on X anymore. I decided like last week, I'm like, forget this. I'm not going to be on here. It's nonsense. So you'll find me on X every once in a while, but for the most part, just check me out on YouTube.
All right. I guess final thoughts for me: just stay consistent with this. Like, don't give us a bad beginning, a couple of cool episodes in the middle. Like, just be strong throughout.
Yes.
Because I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of these series. But at the same time, I think a lot of it is because they're trying to make content as fast as possible without like really thinking about how long this stuff takes to make and how long it's gonna last if it's just some bubblegum stuff.
Yeah.
Or if it's just bad. Like, this is from Marvel, from Warner Brothers, from Disney, from Paramount, all that. Even though I am gonna this week has the finale of Halo, and I think every episode of Halo this season has been solid, but that's military sci-fi. We'll get into that later this week. But well, I guess Bad Batch is military sci-fi as well. But it's Star Wars, but it's still military sci-fi. So stay solid and stick the landing, because when you look at this, it looks good. You guys are spending money. It seems like you have good actors. So the issue is where is the story going, and what are you guys doing with the lore? Like, just please stop hiring people for name recognition and hire people for their passion towards, said property, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, whatever this stuff is.
Yeah.
Find someone who is a good writer and loves the stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think Phase 4 was riddled with a lot of people that were just like, hey, I can direct. And it's like, yes, you can direct, but that doesn't mean that you know what's going on in the MCU, and even if you even care about it.
Exactly.
I mean, when you have some directors saying like, "We made this to make people angry," it's like they gave you how much money to make people angry?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, the bank must be good right now. But but with that said, of course, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Until the next time that you have to find out who is tracking down Jedi and making their breath stop, we're just saying peace.